The dim constellation of Telescopium has no ancient myths, but it marks humanity's greatest cognitive revolution. It is the first artificial object in the sky, allowing the astronomy muse Urania to pierce the infinity of worlds. Its appearance among the stars became a symbol of human intellect's ultimate victory over primal fear of the unknown. And today, this celestial instrument hides a mysterious vampire star, ruthlessly tearing the envelope from its companion.
You know, when we look up at the night sky, we see stories written in the stars. Ancient myths, heroes, monsters, gods. But then there's this constellation, Telescopium. It isn't a hero or a monster. It's a tool. It's an instrument. And its arrival on our star charts, well, that marks a massive shift in how we see the universe itself. And that quote, it just nails it. The creation of Telescopium wasn't simply about mapping a new patch of sky. No, it was a revolution in human thought. It's a monument to that exact moment we started trading old myths for hard measurements, turning superstition into science.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the basics, its size, its location. Then we're going to dive deep into the incredible objects hidden inside it. After that, we'll uncover its history and explore its surprisingly powerful modern myth. And finally, I'll give you a practical guide on how to find it for yourself.
Okay, first things first, let's get our bearings. Before we can really appreciate the story of Telescopium, we need to know the fundamental data: where it is in the celestial sphere, just how big it is, and, most importantly, where on Earth you need to be to actually see it. So, Telescopium covers just over 251 square degrees of the sky. Now, that might not sound like a huge patch of sky, and, well, it isn't. Within that space, even on a perfectly clear, dark night, you'd be lucky to spot about 50 stars with the naked eye. It's a pretty sparse neighborhood, all things considered. To give you a better sense of scale, out of all 88 official constellations, it ranks 57th. So it's nowhere near the sprawling size of Hydra, the sea serpent, but it's certainly much larger than the tiny, iconic Southern Cross, Crux. It really is right there in the middle of the pack. So where can you see it? Well, if you find yourself in the Southern Hemisphere, think Australia, South Africa, or Chile, you get a perfect unobstructed view. But as you travel north, say to the Mediterranean, it just barely scrapes above the horizon. And for anyone living much further north than that, I'm sorry, but it's going to remain completely hidden from your view. Okay, so we've covered the where. Now for the really cool part, the what. Despite its faint and unassuming appearance, Telescopium is an absolute astrophysical treasure trove. It's hiding some truly incredible objects that are challenging our understanding of the cosmos. For starters, let's look at its brightest star, Alpha Telescopii. I mean, it just puts our sun to shame. This is a hot, young, blue-white subgiant that's already burning through its fuel at a furious pace. And get this, it shines with the light of 800 of our suns. A true stellar powerhouse. But things get even weirder. Then we have this system, known as HR 6819, or QV Telescopii. For the last several years, this object has been a genuine celestial enigma, sparking some really intense debate and controversy among astronomers. You see, back in 2020, one team made a huge announcement. They believed they'd found the closest black hole to Earth, hiding right there in this system. It was a massive story. But then, in 2022, a different team came back with a new analysis and proposed something, well, even stranger. They said, it's not a black hole. It's a rare vampire star scenario. One star has literally stripped the atmosphere away from its partner, leaving behind a shrunken, rapidly spinning core. And the strangeness doesn't stop there. Telescopium is also home to a very peculiar star called PV Telescopii. In fact, it's the prototype for an entire class of stars that are almost pure helium. All their hydrogen is just gone. The leading theory for how this happens? It was likely born from the violent merger of two dead stars, two white dwarfs, colliding in an incredible cosmic cataclysm. And if you zoom out from the individual stars, Telescopium offers some truly mind-blowing deep sky objects. With a good telescope, you can hunt down NGC 6584. It's this glittering, ancient ball of hundreds of thousands of stars. And if you look even deeper, you'll find the Telescopium galaxy group, where a gigantic elliptical galaxy, NGC 6868, is in the slow-motion act of cannibalizing its smaller neighbors. So how did a modern constellation like this even come to exist? Unlike ancient figures like Orion or Leo, Telescopium isn't from antiquity. It's a product of the Age of Enlightenment, and it was created by the French astronomer Nicolas-Louis de Lacaille. The story doesn't just start with Lacaille, though. It actually begins with the instrument that inspired it all. These enormous, unwieldy aerial telescopes designed back in the 17th century. Decades later, Lacaille went on a historic expedition to the Cape of Good Hope to map the southern sky, and he decided to pay tribute to that incredible technological marvel by carving out a new constellation in its honor. And what's really fascinating is that Lacaille's original vision for Telescopium was way bigger than what we see today. His first drawings show it stretching deep into territory that we now consider parts of Sagittarius and Scorpius. It was only later that other astronomers decided to trim it down to its current, more modest size. Okay, so we've covered the science and the history, but this is where the story gets really profound, because Telescopium has no ancient myths of gods or monsters. Instead, it has forged its own powerful, modern myth, a story that some have called the liberation of Urania. Think about it. For thousands of years, the heavens were the realm of mythology. When Urania, the Greek muse of astronomy, looked up, she saw a sky filled with divine beasts and primal forces, like the Scorpius and the centaur archer Sagittarius, which happened to be Telescopium's neighbors. Her gaze was bound by the limits of the human eye. And then, along comes the telescope, a human invention, an artificial eye. And Lacaille places this new constellation right there among the ancient gods and monsters. This act is deeply symbolic. It represents the moment our vision was suddenly augmented. The instrument, in a poetic sense, pierced the old idea of the sky as a solid dome, and in doing so, revealed it as a gateway to an infinite depth, filled with countless other worlds. So what's the new myth? What's the story we tell now? The modern myth of Telescopium is exactly this. It's the drama of empirical observation triumphing over ancient superstition. It represents the victory of the rational, human intellect over that primal, deep-seated fear of a dark and unknown universe. It's a monument to curiosity itself. All right, after all this talk, I bet you want to go out and find it. So let's wrap this up with a practical guide to spotting this humble but profound constellation for yourself. And thankfully, locating it is pretty straightforward. First, you need to find Scorpius. Look for the bright, unmistakable pair of stars that form its stinger. Once you've got them, just cast your gaze directly south into the adjacent patch of sky. That's Telescopium. Through binoculars, Alpha Telescopii will stand out with its distinct blue-white light. And if you have a small telescope, the faint, misty patch of the globular cluster NGC 6584 is a very achievable and rewarding target. You see, in the end, Telescopium is so much more than just a collection of faint stars. It's a symbol. It's a constant, quiet reminder up in our sky that the universe, for all its vastness and all its mystery, is not beyond our comprehension. We possess the tools, the methods of science, the instruments of observation to actually figure it out. And that leaves us with one final big question to ponder. The telescope, both as an instrument and as a constellation, clearly represents the scientific revolution that defined the last 400 years of discovery. So, what instrument will symbolize the next great leap in our cosmic understanding? Will it be a gravitational wave detector, a quantum computer, or maybe something we haven't even imagined yet?
Thank you, friends. Strive for understanding and become wiser. See you soon.